guys, welcome back to Boys and Ghouls Film Review. I'm your host, Sarah Stephenson, and this is my co-host, Mike Stephenson.
Hi guys.
And tonight we will be reviewing that, I think, cult classic, if you may.
Well, it's not a cult classic, but it's a good one. We think it's a classic.
Which is called Love at First Bite.
It's a 1979 American comedy horror film.
Yeah, at the time we were trying to figure out if we should do Love at First Bite or Love Bites. I wasn't sure, but this one has more information to go on, so we're going to use this one for now.
Exactly. I want to drink your blood. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah. So who stars in it?
Well, now I'll go through the producers, directors stuff first, then roll into the cast. Yeah. Okay. This is produced by Joel Freeman.
Ooh.
Directed by Stan Dragotti. And actually, I had a bit of a story about him later.
Cool.
And written by Robert Kaufman. Now, the budget was $3 million. Box office to about 44 mil. Now, hold this in mind. It was popular at the box office.
Yeah, and it's considered still a most popular movie even nowadays.
That's not where I was heading. It was popular box office, but the reviews were unsavoury. Go figure it. Do the reviewers know what they're talking about? Quite possibly not. Now, the cast. I won't go through every one of them, but the main cast are as follows.
Right.
George Hamilton plays Count Vladimir Dracula. Susan St. James, pretty little thing, plays Cindy Sondheim.
Yeah, she's very pretty.
Now, Richard Benjamin plays a Dr. Jeffrey Rosenberg, who had changed his name from Van Helsing. Surprise, surprise. Now, I won't go for too many more. There's two more here.
Yeah.
Dick Shawn plays a police lieutenant who thinks Richard Benjamin is a nutcase, and then finally realises there might be a vampire hanging around. And Artie Johnson. Now, he's a comic from way back when. Now, some of the old guys might have remembered things like Laughing and stuff. Now, Artie Johnson and some of the other guys were on that show, and that's when I first saw Artie Johnson. He was funny back then. I don't know if he's still around. I haven't checked his details, but yeah, he did quite well. And from what Sarah told me, he copied. Artie Johnson copied the original Todd Browning's version of Dracula with Bela Lugosi in it, and copied Dwight Fry's version of Renfield when he was trying to get a personality for this. So there you go. That's what you call one dedicated SAB. No,
that'd be rude.
And the rest of them I don't care about. Oh no, I will admit, Isabel Sanford. She plays Judge R. Thomas. She is a joy to behold, and she puts the white guys back in their place. Now,
yeah,
really
another
good.
thing about this movie, apart from her, Isabel, there was they made at the end of the credits, they made special credits for all cameo appearances.
Yeah, and obviously they don't mean too much to me, but they might mean something to people in America.
Exactly so.
Like news broadcasters and different things, and other people and stuff,
Yes.
But irrespective. Now, we're going to roll in a minute. Do you want to say anything before you start doing the plot?
Yeah, you may know this from watching the movie. Some of you guys who have gone to the actual movie and think, well, you heard the song. This song, the theatrical song called I Love the Nightlife.
By Alicia Bridges, I think. Yeah.
So, just so you guys know, before I begin, the song was in
the movie itself at the theatre?
It was in the movie itself, but when it came to DVDs, videos, and releases, and on television releases,
they changed the song.
They changed the song because they had some licensing problems.
Because they didn't get permission to use the song.
And when it came time for people to buy the video or DVD, the audiences were really annoyed with them.
Well, because they put a different tune on there. But now I think later releases have the
Blu-ray. They kind of released the original song on there, so everyone's happy.
As intended. So maybe they got to the stage where they cut a deal and whatever, and whatever. Yeah.
Well, they can afford it now.
Well, they can now, and made 40-something million on it, didn't they?
Yeah, true. So I'll dive into the movie now.
Splash.
Yes. So it starts with Dracula living in Transylvania or Romania
Or wherever.
or whoever, and he gets the news that he's told to he's evicted from his own home, meaning these guys want to turn his home into a gym for their athletes for the
sports
Olympics.
Camp. A sports camp type gym training
Yeah.
facility, yeah.
So they tell him to take his
coffin and bugger off, pretty much.
and his
wasn't it?
buggy to friend, and his buggy to friend.
His bug-eating friend. That's not very nice.
Yeah.
That's being very personal.
Renfield
isn't
is
it?
there, and he's trying his absolute hardest to keep his spirits up. And of course,
spirits.
yeah. So they did end up leaving America.
They're leaving for America.
Leaving for America, where he hopes to capture the heart of his love interest, Cindy. What's the last name?
Cindy Sondheim.
Yeah, whom he thinks is a reincarnation of his old love interest.
And she might have been.
Mostly.
He met her several times over the past.
Yeah.
Isn't he 700 years old or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
And he says that the only way he bit both the attempts either once or twice.
But it didn't finalise it. Didn't consummate their marriage.
Yeah. It takes 3 bites to make a vampire.
3 bites, you're out. No,
Yes,
sorry.
something like that. So anyway, he goes to America. There was a bit of problems with what do you call it? With getting.
Renfield, the clever little man he is, put the coffin on the aeroplane
Yes.
and sent it to America. It got to New York fine.
Yes.
But there was another coffin being picked up at the same time. An Afro-American person who was coming back from a different country altogether. So I don't know how they got mixed up.
It had no tag that indicate where it came from originally.
So Artie Johnson picks up the wrong casket and takes this Afro-American gentleman back to the apartment and leaves him in a box, and Dracula gets taken down to Harlem for a funeral ceremony.
Yeah, it was a bit of a shock to everyone.
And you got to check this minister out. He's saying, "When you's gone, you's gone." And then Dracula pops open the lid and says hello to everybody, and everybody runs out of the room. Yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah, that guy who plays the priest is another famous cameo comedy guy who was...
Yeah, I haven't got his list.
I don't know his name.
I haven't got the whole list of everybody in the show because I don't know who's who with all the cameos. So, But anyway, irrespective, it was a good sight joke.
I only know is that 4 people were cameo appearances.
It's a good sight gag. That was fun.
So anyway, Dracula heads to the hotel, gives Renfield a slap on the face, telling him...
You idiot.
You idiot. And he goes and tells Renfield to go and search for his love interest.
And he finds her.
Yes, he ends up going to one of those model agencies.
Where she works from,
And this is where one of the scenes that comes to mind was when he goes to the reception, he walks past them, and they say...
He's dressed really weird, trust me.
No, he said, isn't he the guy from Fantasy Island? Good thought, just so you guys know. What's his name, Renfield's name again?
Artie Johnson.
Artie Johnson was also in some episodes of the original Fantasy Island. It's just so, an interesting thing to think about.
I don't think they're implying he was tattooed. I think, didn't we see him fancy because he's wearing
just
dressed?
A few episodes, here and there. So anyway, he eventually convinces the agent to give him the details of where she was, where Cindy was. And... thanks to a snake that he has in his lunchbox.
He had a little cobra in his lunchbox. That's a good icebreaker, isn't it, folks? Yeah.
It was hilarious. And eventually she gives him the details of where she was
having a
hanging
photo
out
shoot.
And stuff.
No, doing a photo shoot that night. Yeah.
He sees her, of course, and like most famous photo shoots, you're not allowed to speak to the model.
And the police keeping everybody away so it's no one to harass her.
Yes. But eventually he transforms into a bulldog or
not a bulldog,
a Rottweiler.
I'm
not sure
what. Let's say a big black dog.
Yeah, not a wolf, as most of you probably might be thinking.
Over, we're Agent Ridgeback. No, I can't remember. Just a big black dog.
Yeah. Anyway, he comes up to her, gives her a licking.
He licks her ankles and stuff.
Yeah, like any ordinary dog.
Oh, a lot of females like their ankles licked and their toes sucked and other things.
Yuck.
Anyway. As long as they wash their feet.
Anyway, the policeman who was not permitting people to walk past, or animals for that matter, he throws Dracula in dog form into
The dog pound.
the Pound's vehicle.
Yeah, and they take you back there, and he gets back to the motel next day, and he said it wasn't too bad. We had to pay for a license to get out.
Yeah, practical
So
jungle. He described
that was quite funny. Yeah.
Yes.
So he could have just dissipated into some gas and just left the room. But
yeah, at least
Yeah.
save time, save money, so to speak.
It's funny.
True.
Another
true.
side gag. Yeah.
Exactly. So eventually he goes out for a drink, and
Literally.
and on 2 false attempts, he was able to get a drunk's blood
Yeah.
and takes a sip of him.
Yeah, how he's full, but ever seen a drunk Dracula?
Yeah, like hiccup, hiccup. Eventually, he confides to Renfield about how he wishes that he could be human and feeling like he hates the fact he's wearing tuxedos all the time.
He says, "I'm tired of looking like a head waiter." No.
Yes, and he's annoyed that his life is. He misses eating ordinary food and stuff like that.
Having Christmas.
And enjoying things.
Yes.
But eventually, Renfield was able to give him some information about Cindy, that
Where
she's
she
going
lives
to
too.
yes, and where she's going to party all the time.
Yeah, well, club she goes to or something. Yeah.
Yes, so that he eventually goes there and meets her, and they have this awesome dance number to wait for it. I love the nightlife
By
song.
Elise Bridges, and it's really good.
Yeah.
Actually, when Leslie Nielsen did Dracula Dead and Loving It, he had a big dance routine too.
True. But this one,
Well, I like Leslie Nielsen.
yeah, but I do like this one a lot better because it's dancing to disco music.
Yeah, okay.
And it works well if it looks like something out of a ballroom type dancing.
Well,
stuff.
yeah. Well, actually, if you think about it, he's wearing a tuxedo.
Yes.
And a lot of ballroom dancers would wear a tuxedo or a formal suit when they're dancing. So he didn't look out of place in the club doing the dance routine with her. Well, it's quite funny, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
So,
it was kind of nice. Eventually, they consummate for a bit, and
What do you mean consummate?
well, for the first time, and he was able to bite her on the throat.
They
and
didn't
stuff.
consummate. I think they had a cuddle session. You know?
Cuddle and a bit of a slight.
Well, maybe a bit of
biting
foreplay, but I don't know if
into
they actually
neck.
got. I think it's more about the sucky bit instead of putty bit.
Yes,
Yeah.
true. But I think they still did it eventually.
Well, they did eventually, yeah, a couple times. Yeah.
So anyway.
Also, must have actually made a comment to her
Psychiatrist.
psychiatrist. He was excellent. He was great, and she's trying to get information from her.
Yes.
He said, "How many times you do it?" And she thought he was talking about sex. But she's actually talking about how many times he bite her. She says, "Oh, 1 or 2, 2.5. Oh, I fell asleep, didn't I?" And so they must have, yes.
So anyway, she tells her psychiatrist, Jeff Rosenberg, whom we discussed is Van Helsing.
Yes.
Professionally, he changed his name, obviously. We said
For
before.
professional reasons, why the hell would you change it? No one knows what Van Helsing is.
Probably to make sure your profession is taken literally.
We'll take him seriously, which people would not.
So anyway, he gets the information from her, and it's clearly from the scene that he's really taken by her, but he's not serious about a real relationship with her.
Yeah, I think I'm sort of maybe in love with you sort of attitude. Maybe. Yeah,
like he's
possibly.
he's like sexually interested in her. Obviously,
Well,
who wouldn't?
She's a good-looking lady. Yeah, why not?
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, when he finds out that she's gotten bitten by her latest fling, or he figures out that she's dating a vampire and he must stop her.
Just like his grandpa did. Was he grandfather?
Grandfather,
Yeah,
I
like his
think.
grandpa did. Yeah.
Yes.
I tried to.
Yeah, so later that night, he and Cindy and Dracula have dinner out together, and Rosenberg takes out a mirror and tries to prove that he's a vampire just to make him look more stupid.
And then, and unwittingly, Rosenberg says, "Oh, I got something really powerful here," and he gets out the Star of David, and he says, and he says, "What do you think of that?" And Dracula says something like, "Yeah, very nice, whatever." Who didn't care?
Oh,
He said,
boy.
oh, it's the other one. Yeah.
Oh.
See, he didn't have a crucifix, he had a Star of
Yes.
David. So, yeah.
He's a total-
And another little side gag, but this Rosenberg guy is always making mistakes.
Several mistakes.
Yeah, he just keeps making mistake after mistake after mistake. He doesn't know the difference between a vampire and a werewolf or anything else. Yeah.
Yes, so he makes several mistakes.
Everybody should know
and
that. Yeah.
Cindy gets annoyed and leaves, and later that evening, Dracula pleads with her to let her back into her life.
Yeah, and she relents, and they have
A brief kiss before he hears a rooster crow.
which is actually Renfield doing out the window, trying to give a
Yes.
signal to him wherever
And
he is.
this
So,
is
yeah.
my favourite quote in this movie, where he says Dracula must leave, and Cindy says, "Wait a minute, we can have a quickie, all that stuff." And Dracula says, "No, with you."
It's always a longie.
No, in this word, he says, "With you, never a quickie. It's always a longie."
Yeah, it's always.
It's my favorite quote. And the next minute,
Cute line,
before
cute
he
line.
leaves the room, Cindy says, "It's okay for you to use the front door next time you
Instead
come."
of coming through the window, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think she really knew how he got on the balcony and didn't even query it. That's
Yeah.
strange. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that later, I don't know how, and it doesn't really explain it, but I don't care at this point. But I do like the fact that she does accept the fact he's a vampire in this.
Well, she does eventually. Yeah.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with vampires.
Yes, and I think she is really taken in by him. So anyway,
Yeah,
Dracula heads
he's
back to
cute.
his place, and Rosenberg tries to go to the police about this vampire
yeah, that's
thing,
really good.
but just like they shut him down, pretty much.
Big time.
Yeah, and he decides to go it alone, so to speak.
Yeah, and,
So he heads-
and as usual,
Yeah,
goes wrong.
Yes, he goes to the hotel where Dracula and Renfield are staying in, and he goes into another room, and he then breaks into Dracula's room, and he sets the
He puts,
coffin on
he
fire.
puts gasoline all over the coffin and sets fire to it. Now, I would have actually opened the coffin and poured the gasoline over Dracula. It would have burnt faster. But
Yeah,
no.
eventually Renfield calls for security, and
They come up there, and security guards think Renfield's the naughty guy because he's attacking Rosenberg. So, yeah, you got the wrong guy. So
Yeah,
they drag Rosenberg off. Yeah.
yeah, and they eventually we see him a few minutes later in a mental institute. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, well.
And of course he's yelling that, ranting and raving that he's a vampire, all that stuff. Even though no one will believe him.
No.
No.
Was he go to another house then, or did he try to shoot him as well with silver bullets? Was that-
Not until
that was
later on.
was it? Okay, yeah.
So anyway, Cindy visits him, gets him some KFC chicken and all that.
Lots of it, in case the other inmates got
Yeah,
upset
there's a
about
lot
it.
of product placement in this movie.
Yeah.
In this
Interesting. That. I wonder how that happened. Yeah. What if they paid licensing fee to the KFC?
Maybe. So anyway, he eventually proposes to her, or not really proposes to Sydney when you think about it.
Well, he says, I think we should get married. Is that
Yeah,
well,
he just says abruptly, like,
Yeah,
and
I think I love you. Maybe. Yeah.
well,
Something
he
like
doesn't
that.
say that. He just says, "Marry me." I'm pretty much cool with this. Even though he's not really serious. He's
He's
acting
always got this little doubt, and he throws another word in, like, I really, really love you, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, that sort of stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
that sort of
or-
attitude all the way through it.
Yeah, even though he also
maybe.
said, I think Cindy says in this scene that Rosenberg always tells her that she doesn't want to get married.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's a reverse
No,
psychology.
I think he just wanted to have sex with her without getting with no commitment.
Yeah, that's it.
You should not have sex with your patients, guys.
Nice. But then
Naughty,
again, weren't they
naughty.
friends since they were children?
Well, I don't know.
I think they
I
said
don't
they
know.
had a relationship for 9 years.
She could have been a patient for 9 years the way she was.
Probably. So anyway, so he gets out, and of course later on we hear Dracula and Renfield robbing a blood bank, which I guess is a better alternative than feeding on victims when you think about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway.
So anyway, they rob it, and it's really funny in this bit because
So 40 gallons of blood was taken or something.
yes.
Well, we
Yes.
didn't go for a couple of days.
Yeah, I love this scene where when they hit the fridge, Renfield says, Master, we hit the jackpot. And he says, only America. Giant disposable bodies. It's like a supermarket. His words. And of course,
with that nice Hungarian accent.
Yes, and of course, Renfield says, "Oh, this will be great when you marry Miss Cindy. Oh, how they danced the night that they bled." His words, just so you know, he was so hilarious. And of course, Dracula ends it by saying, "I propose a toast. Here's blood in your eye."
Yeah.
You know,
another quick liner. That one liner here.
And later that night, or maybe later on, I don't know. There's no times.
Well, not these things.
And
It is one big blurb, but yeah, it's pretty good.
So he meets up with Cindy at the restaurant, and he gives her a beautiful necklace.
Oh yeah,
and
it's got a bat hanging off it or something.
Yeah, this necklace makes me think of my friend Shannon, who did a similar necklace for my web series, Mina Morris's Diaries, web series, and that's where I got the idea to use a similar necklace for my web series.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yes. So anyway, she likes the necklace. She first thought it's a bird.
I think it's a bat.
But he says it's a creature of the night. It flies, all that stuff.
Yeah, Yeah, nondescript. Nondescript. Yeah.
And Sydney's a little confused about their relationship. Like she wants to have
a relationship, but she's not sure because he's been seeing a shrink for so long. He's got her so confused and everything.
Like
so
she wants to have. She likes the idea of dating Dracula, and she wants to continue having a career and having a family, things like that.
Exactly. Yeah. Big move. Big commitment.
Yeah.
Marrying a vampire.
And eventually Dracula says, I can arrange it that you won't never see a wrinkle again.
Yeah, she's worried about her looks and stuff going away gradually. And
and I guess who comes to the restaurant, none other than Renfield, where he says, I can arrange it, so you can. The second or third attempt to kill a vampire. 3 silver bullets in the heart. And he shoots Dracula right in the chest.
Yes, he does.
And this is where he says, no, Roosevelt. That's a werewolf.
That's for a werewolf.
And again, Rosenberg gets taken away back to the institute, or the mental institute. And later that night, Cindy resolves that she's finally going to commit to their relationship. I mean, to Dracula's relationship.
Drac baby.
Yeah, and that's cool. I mean, Dracula seems cool with it.
Yeah, no. It had to be her decision to commit. Mm-hmm. He wasn't going to just take her.
Yeah, this is not one of those
wham bam, thank you ma'am jobs.
Thank you ma'am things.
No, he wanted, for a long-term commitment, he wanted.
Unlike other Dracula movies we've seen in the past, where Dracula has more than one bride.
But he wanted to share eternally with this woman who he loved, not just a plaything.
Yes.
You see, he might be a creature of night, but he's a nice guy.
Yes. So then later on, we find out the policeman came visiting the Rosenberg, and he tells them about the blood bank robbery.
40 gallons of blood's been taken, and some other people been showing up for some bites on the neck.
Yeah.
And
well, at least
all the good groovy things.
At least
folks.
they're not dead. I think that they said that they were bitten, but they weren't harassed
and they couldn't
killed.
Remember what happened.
Yeah.
Something like
there's no harm done in this case.
Well, yes, he's a nice vampire.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So eventually, the policeman gets Rosenberg out, and they go to Cindy's place, and they get the shock of their life when they see a herbal mask on Cindy's face.
Oh, 2 ladies! It's my herbal mask, Jeffrey.
Idiot.
You've seen it before. Oh yeah, right, yeah. He's a
and she admits that she's in love with Dracula and she wants to marry him. And Rosenberg is so desperately wants to get in there and kill Dracula, all that stuff, but they need what do they call it? A search warrant.
They need a search warrant. Yeah.
Yes.
So the policeman says, "Look, well, I know a friendly judge."
Not.
That's where this Afro-American lady that's trying to say is a judge, and the police guy, the lieutenant, saying, And we need this search warrant because this guy here is doing something, and we think he's a vampire, and she's going really cold on him really quick.
Yeah, and she goes off her chops about roots and doesn't want to listen to vampire stuff.
It's honky trash or something or whatever.
Yes.
What? Yeah. But it's all the good stuff. It just is coming out, and she really gave me good lashing.
She gave them a ripping into them a lot.
Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah, so
she did a good job there. Which is funny.
So later that night, they come back to Sydney's place, and Rosenberg breaks into her apartment.
And she wasn't there.
And he wasn't there. I mean, Dracula wasn't there.
Yeah, he wasn't there.
Yeah.
Shame.
Yeah.
He was getting some plane tickets, wasn't he?
Continuing to, Rosenberg continues to rant and rave and say that he's a vampire, all that stuff, all that crap. When she's already knew this, and she loves the man, and she doesn't really care if he's a vampire or not.
She wasn't biased about him for race or religion or anything, or being dead or things.
Eventually, Renfield appears and tries to take down Rosenberg, but fortunately, he lets the goose out of the bag, or the what do they call it?
The cat out of the bag.
Cat out of the bag, or goose.
A goose is a wild goose chase. A cat's in the bag.
Okay, the cat. So he let the cat out of the bag and tells Rosenberg that his master's gone off to get some airline tickets.
We're going to London.
All that stuff.
Something like that.
Of course, Cindy says, Renfield, why did you tell him? And of course, Rosenberg explains that the bad guys always explain what they're going to do next.
Yeah, before they get killed or something rather.
Or something like that.
Yeah,
it always seems interesting in these movies.
Yeah, that's sort of fun banter going on here.
Yeah, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. So anyway, Rosenberg eventually takes down Renfield and Sydney too, using one of those drug syringes, probably from the mental institute.
He came there for a syringe full of some sort of tranquilizer, so they'll knock her out, so he can spirit her away somewhere without her protesting too much.
So while he spirits her away to the elevator with a few other people in there, there is a blackout.
And the elevator's off.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a bit funny, that scene, especially, and eventually Dracula arrives. He gets all the news that Rosenberg took and Cindy, and he must go get her.
And he does.
And eventually he does. Eventually, some of the people in the elevator take out Rosenberg because he was ranting and raving about vampires. Like you didn't think.
I think the priest beat him up, didn't he?
Yeah, he kind of did the usual cross routine, and then
he blessed him first. Yes, poor little nutty man, and they all beat him up.
Yeah, and eventually she gets hoisted up.
Through the manhole, like person hole in the top of the elevator car.
Yeah. And Dracula climbs up the rope with her clinging to his back.
Yeah.
Nice, really romantic. Cool. Anyway, the blackout ends. The elevator's back to working again.
Yay.
And Rosenberg finally revives himself and eventually meets up with the lieutenant and tells him the big news. And he also goes on He also meets a news reporter on the streets who was interviewing people about the blackout, and he tells about there's a vampire loose in the city. Lock up your wives, your girlfriends, your sweethearts, all that stuff. Even though Dracula is not intentionally going after other women in this movie.
He's looking for love.
Yes, kind of idiotic when you think about this.
Poor old Drac baby.
Eventually, Rosenberg.
I saw Hotel Transylvania. He was a very nice vampire.
Yeah, this is where it comes
family man. And,
this is my favorite scene in the movie, where Dracula and Sydney get into a taxi, and Rosenberg and the detective follow
on a police
bike.
Yeah.
So they begin a chase where Dracula takes control of the cab using his mind powers.
Yeah, that's
kind of cool.
It was an interesting chase through Central Park or whatever, and then up the
cool.
local airport and whatever. And
they kind of did a few incredible stunts in this movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
carry on.
Yes, and of course, while on the bike, Rosenberg says that there's a good chance he loves her.
Hey, good chance. He still isn't committed.
Yeah, he's even though I think he's more concerned about her not paying his bill.
Yeah, he's like psychiatric consultation fees. Yeah,
a check or something like that.
Well, he does get one in the end.
Yeah, he does.
Very shortly.
So anyway, they eventually arrive at the airport without any problems.
However, due to Renfield's ineptitude, the coffin's on the way to Jamaica, and they got tickets to go to London.
Yeah.
So at the moment's notice, they changed the booking to go to Jamaica, and Drac Baby and his lady love missed the plane.
Yeah, and he says that there's only one other way to get there, and it's to turn her into a vampire.
She wasn't sure. Oh, I don't know. Ooh,
at first she's scared and a little bit worried about changing.
And then she hears her ex-boyfriend come with the said, do it now.
Yeah, this is the bit where Rosenberg says, Sydney, I'm pretty sure I love you. What am I saying? Of course I love you. I think.
Yes, it just keeps going on.
Oh, the jokes keep coming.
Yeah.
Eventually she does agree, and this bit is pretty interesting. Dracula raises his cloak
to bite her on the neck.
And of course, Rosenberg says, the third way of killing a vampire, a wooden stake
and he
through the heart.
He jumps on it, and there's nothing on the other side of the cloak. They're gone.
Yeah, it's like they made the disappearance act.
Not bad. He should be a magician, hey.
And of course he says,
Sydney,
I come back. I need you. Come back.
And this check floats down for all the unpaid. Now, where would a bat have a checkbox?
Beats me.
Well, anyway.
So eventually he gets
and how they
the
write,
money.
they have not any fingers.
Yeah. So Rosenberg and the detective ponder how come Dracula just what does Dracula have that they don't have?
A cape.
Yes.
Makes it look suave and mysterious.
Yeah.
And elegant and all that good
Rosenberg
things.
thinks it's a cape that attracts the attention of other women, which I doubt.
Well, yeah, you need a personality inside the cape.
Quite right.
And he's a drip. No, Jeffrey is a drip. Honestly,
and
he's
eventually
a drip.
the lieutenant says to Rosenberg, my wedding anniversary is coming up, and he thought that if he borrowed the cape, he might impress his wife.
Score for the night of his missus.
Yes. And of course he says he'll clean it, make sure he dries, cleans it and everything, and gives it back to Rosenberg when he's done for the weekend.
Yeah, lovely.
And eventually we watch them walk away like Humphrey Bogart in Casablanca.
Yeah, and walk away from yeah, it's great. A beautiful friendship.
Oh yes, quite right. And eventually we watch Sydney and Dracula flying in bat forms into the moonlight.
You can't say the sunset because
well,
they'll do
moonlight.
fried. Yeah, moonlight, yeah.
And she's saying, "Oh, this is not so hard. I think I'm gonna love immortality." And he says, "There is one disadvantage. We can only live by night." And she says, "Oh, that's fine with me. I can't get my
shit together till 7 o'clock anyway."
And
so
then we fade out, obviously, and they live happily ever after, or whatever.
As bats. Yeah. Lovely.
I think it's a great movie, and I think it's amusing.
And it's a fun comedy. It's not a serious movie, and as horror comedies go, I think it's pretty damn good.
I think so too.
Now, can I talk a little bit about the production part of it?
Yeah,
this is interesting.
Cool.
The inspiration for the film came about while George Hamilton was entertaining a screenwriter, Robert Kaufman, with a poolside impression of Bela Lugosi.
Cool.
And their thoughts turned actually writing the script after that. And they said, hey, wouldn't it be funny if Dracula was in New York and yada, yada, yada. And hence the script came about. And getting a bit further down, the director, Stan Dragotti, became attached to the project through Peter Sellers, an acquaintance of Kaufman. So
wow,
it all
Peter
comes
Sellers.
in together.
Cool.
So yeah, Peter Sellers knew so-and-so and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so interesting. And Peter Sellers is another one of our favourite actor type guys.
Yeah, this another thing about this movie is that it was inspired from Mel Brooks' Young Frankenstein that was made in 1974.
Yeah, the way they gave it the treatment, so to speak.
Quite right. Which we might review some other time eventually.
Now, actually, getting on to what I said earlier about the costing to make the movie, about $3 million to make, and it made a lot of money at the box office. However, as reviewers do, they review it from their own perspective and not on what the population feels. So you got things like saying, "Oh, we think it's a crappy movie. We think it's a good movie. We think it's a crappy movie. We think it's a good movie." And they're picking it apart like a bunch of trolls half the time. Do they actually see the movie? I start to wonder, because sometimes I wonder whether these reviewers actually take the time to sit down and enjoy a movie instead of ripping it apart.
Or maybe they just focus more on the job than more on the
I don't think they enjoy movies. Honestly, they're just too many. I'm going to rip this apart. I don't like that bit there, so that's a negative. Oh, it's not too bad. Oh, that's negative. Just to sit back and enjoy the thing as a whole, not a little bit, because that's where the problem is. Because after all these reviewers, you gave him a bad review. Here's a few accolades. Back in 1979. At the Saturn Awards, it was nominated Best Horror Film. Best Writing was nominated for Robert Kaufman. Best Actor for George Hamilton, and he actually won it.
Right.
Best Actress, Susan St. James was nominated. Didn't win, but obviously somebody else got gazumped there. Best Supporting Actor, Artie Johnson, he won it. Best Makeup, William Tuttle, he won it. The following year, Golden Globes, Best Actor, Musical or Comedy, George Hamilton, nominated. So where did these critics go saying it's a crappy movie? I've got no idea.
I have a theory, Mike, that I came up with, that they always give the worst reviews to the best movies.
And the good reviews to the bad movies.
And the good reviews to the not so good
I've got no idea.
But I'm not sure, because, I mean, even, I've looked at Fantasy Island, that movie, and I try to figure out if it's any good, and it's
the new one.
Yeah, the new one.
Yeah.
And it's...
As a standalone movie, it's a good movie. But some people don't like it.
Yeah, I still have doubts whether it's good or not.
They're referencing it back to the original TV series. It's not the same. It's like comparing Todd Browning's version of Dracula, Bela Lugosi, to a modern day version. The modern day version might be better cinematography, better acting, and whatever. It's a totally different kettle of fish.
Yeah, another thing about this movie is that in this movie, they had the same makeup artist from the original Dracula movie that was done in 1931. It was done by William Tuttle.
And he must have been getting pretty old by then.
He must have, but at least...
what year was this? It was done
1931.
That's about 50 years later.
Yeah.
When he did the makeup for Dracula, he must have been very, very young.
Yes, and it must have been a new change.
Well, he must have been... Get him out of retirement to do the makeup, Get him out of the retirement home or something,
Who knows?
Whatever.
But it was kind of cool that they brought back some of the people who originally worked on it.
Well, it does happen sometimes.
And it does explain a lot.
Actually, they did... Considering it was only $3 million, it might have been a low budget too. So they try to keep it cost down by bringing other people in who might be interested in it and stuff. And some of these guys might have been doing much work at the time. And
this movie, I read somewhere, this movie is considered a direct copy of the 1971 small budget film, Guess What Happens to Count Dracula. I'd never seen the movie, but I don't know if I'll be able to get a copy of it just yet.
I find it highly unlikely, but I mean...
Well, I've never seen Tim.
If they hadn't seen it... It's sort of like we were talking about Elvira the other day. There was a bit of a legal case about in between her and the vampire lady, Vampire versus Elvira. And the vampire lady was saying Elvira, Cassandra, copied her presentation. Well, considering Vampira was a live transmission that wasn't recorded, And Cassandra would have been about 3 or 4 years old when it was televised. It's highly unlikely she would have even seen vampire sort of stuff, so how can she copy her?
True.
Same as this. I mean, if they didn't see the movie, but it's similar,
Yeah.
well, it's, what do you do?
Beats me.
Yeah, I mean, you go, if any musos out there, 12-bar blues in A, G, you got A, D, E. Now, if you played Johnny Be Good and then another song with the same sort of chord structure, who wrote the 12-bar blues actual chord structure? I don't know, because it's been around for so long. Boogie Woogie was based on, I think, 12-bar blues. How far does it go back? So you can't say, oh, I made this mine, and take a legal action on somebody every time you think someone's tried to copy you when they haven't. So I don't think they copied this. I think they actually wrote the script off their own heads.
True.
Yeah, so that's my little event, guys. I hate people sort of, I'm going to sue you, I'm going to get some money out of you. Come on.
Well, I don't know
rest.
if they sued or anything.
Well, they can. They do like legal proceedings.
I just said that
the scenes,
that they claim that it was a direct copy. It could be. I could be wrong.
But if you did a direct copy and had the permission, they have grounds for legal action.
True.
You see, that's why they do it. And I just can't understand why.
And back
people
then,
do it.
they were making Dracula movies by the gushel.
Bushel.
Bushel.
Gushel, gallon, kilo,
whatever.
Yeah, so, yes. If you didn't do it, it's not yours. It's only similar, tough. Go away,
Yes.
Now, there was talks there was going to be a sequel at one stage. Never got off. It had the synopsis, everything else, but and even back in 2009, not talking about it, and no. So at this late stage, I don't think there's going to be a sequel.
Yeah, I gotta admit though, it would be interesting, but I guess in this time of life, it's always good just to be a standalone.
Or death.
It's always good to just be a standalone movie.
That's good.
Most of you guys may not agree with me, but standalones are always the best way to go.
Well, I agree. I mean, if the sequel's going to be made, it's got to be as good as, or if not better than the first one. Making a lame second movie just to try and milk it for what it's worth, don't bother, because people aren't going to like it. Some people might like it, but you don't milk something until it's dead. I mean, look at the old Universal Studios, right? They did so many Dracula movies and so many Frankenstein movies. Okay, we're not going to do them anymore. We did so many, and they said we're not going to do any more. And that's they passed them over to Abbott and Costello, and they made them into comedies. The Universal Studios said that's it. That's our cut-off date, and that's how they should do it. When things are going fine and strong, we've still got good, fresh ideas. Leave it before it gets stale. And that's what Universal Studios did. They kept it fresh.
Now, do you want to do a rating now?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay, how do you rate this movie, Mike?
Got to be a 9. Got to be a 9. You got to be a 9. 9. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll give it a 9.5 out of 10 to myself.
Yeah. I do go on a bit sometimes, but I do get I do have some strong views on some things. And if I'm annoying anybody out there, I'm sorry, but the industry's really hard sometimes, and it's wrong sometimes.
Yeah, it's just that they keep. I don't even know how. I know I'm an amateur when it comes to reviewing some stuff, but I just feel like reviewers get it the wrong way when you have to.
Yeah.
I mean, aren't you supposed to not just say nasty things, but you have to praise it for good things too?
Exactly right. I mean, you have a court of law, and you're innocent until proven guilty. Now, with a reviewer, you would think it's a good movie unless proven otherwise. It's not, it's a bad movie unless you can prove to me it's a good movie. No, let's go for a positive outlook before they review it, and then say, all these are the weak bits. Not saying, well, look for a couple of strong bits which happen to click into what they want to see, because the reviewer might not like a horror movie or a comedy horror. They might like a drama, so they're not going to give it a good review, are they? So yeah, it's not fair. So yeah, I don't like the reviewers. That's why I don't go by most of the written reviews online or in newspapers, because that's from their perspective only. I go by mine, and some movies have been really bagged terribly. I've liked. So I say use your own judgment, guys.
Yes, guys. If you guys don't want to listen to and believe most of our opinions, that's all right. We won't hold it against you.
Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. That's what I'm saying. Don't believe all the reviewers, because the reviewers are doing it from their own personal perspective. Sarah and I try to be fair and say it's got some good bits and some bad bits. We try to bring out the good bits in it.
Yeah, I once had a reviewer, I won't name names, but he kind of said some nasty stuff, and he didn't so much as give me an inch. I mean, he said things like, "Oh, it's this and that and that and all that stuff." And he says that, and then way to the end, he says, "I hope that your film career continues to grow well, even though."
Oh, well, yeah, your critique on you, yeah.
It was a sour
but had a good positive close. You know, he was really nasty and caustic, but he said, there's some good bits in there, and he hopes to see good work from it.
It didn't have very many good bits. It just mentioned how many bad things you can notice in a film.
He focused on the bad things. But still gave you positive at the end of it.
Yeah, but you always tell me, Mike, in the past, whenever we write a review, to start off with positives, and then weed into the negative a little bit.
And find if there are any negatives creep in, say, well, we didn't like it, or there was a problem here.
I seem to remember, you recall it's like a sandwich, the sandwich theory.
It's a sandwich. Look, when you're having a discussion about something and you're doing a presentation, you do a hamburger approach. You start off with your big opening, which is you say what's going on with a couple of positives maybe, then you go into some negative, nasty crap, and you do a summary at the end to bring it all back and tie it up nice and neat and tidy. So you say positive, bring in some negatives, but end on a positive. And that's it. That's how you do it. It's an opening, guts, and closing, like in a debate. Same thing. You can't just go, oh, here's horrible, nasty, and leave it dangling. You can't do that. It's wrong. It's just, it is wrong.
I gotta admit, though, if there is a book on reviewing, they should...
Just to read it.
They should, there must be something in there that say, just to include both the good as well as the bad.
Yeah, like in a debate. And some of you guys out there might have seen a debate or been on a debating team. You go out there and you do a for and against. You don't say against, because it's weighted to one side. And that's what a lot of these reviewers do. They're not debating, they're saying, I'm against it, I hate it. And if they're the reviewer, well, that's it. And people read it and they don't go to the pictures. They go to the theatre to see the movie. And they can. And some of the trolls out there, they'll try to sink it before it even gets to the theatre. So, I'm sorry, it's not really good.
It does. That's another thing. I don't understand why whenever I look at a review... Before a movie even begins, technically, they start reviewing the movie before it hits the big screen.
Yeah, based on what they've heard, hearsay, maybe a teaser trailer might have stuck out. Oh, I don't like the trailer. Well, I'm sorry. Why don't you wait for the movie to come out before you give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to keep away from trailers these days, mostly because to avoid unexpected surprises.
Yeah, and actually sometimes the trailer's the best part of some movies too. I mean, all the good bits from the trailer, and when you watch the movie, well, where's the rest of the story?
I mean, I watched the trailer once a while back, and it revealed so much of the story.
No surprises left.
Yeah. It was leaving too much to the viewer to work out the story. You don't need to go see the movie then.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a disappointment. Anyway, listen,
that's enough. We're grumbling about things too much now. It's supposed to be happy and fun, folks. And
yes, although it's a very good learning experience for everyone. Yeah. So, anyone, this is
the good view. I don't know whether you can get it on Amazon or eBay. I haven't checked, but I'm pretty sure you can get it still. If not, try to do it the right way first. Go to your local shops, buy a copy, rent a copy, go online, try to buy a copy. If you can't, you might be able to pick it up as a torrent. It's really, really good movie to watch.
Yeah. So, this is Sarah Stephenson.
And Michael Stephenson.
Wishing you,
and Merry Christmas. No, it's not Christmas. It's only July, sorry. Oh, Christmas in July. Yay. Oh, sorry.
So, we're wishing you all the best this week, and hopefully we'll see you guys or talk to you guys very soon.
Yeah.
Bye,
Sounds
guys.
like a plan. Bye.